Walking down a neighborhood street. The sun is smiling right down at me, and the air smells like a perfect summer day. I then see two people. Is a young boy. I then see a black gun screaming with the name of death hidden in the pocket of the old man. I'm mostly shocked. The young boy, drenched in wisdom that the wrinkles on the old man's face could never tell, opens his mouth, recites a poem that creates a melody with the crying of when he was first born. The old man walks away, face flushed with the color of a tomato. And I soon realized that no matter the deepest black pits of our world, youth have been given hands and a mouth to write and recite verses that hit people's hearts like arrows on a bullseye. So do not tell yourself that mere similes and metaphors fall like a boomerang from you to yourself, when you know that the letters on each poem create veins of wings behind you. They connect, mend hearts, and let you express yourself on the tip of a mountain, whether you're young, old, upper, or lower class. If you can hear me right now, then you can hear the next person in line begging to pay for your ears and eyes to their poem. Poems can transcend barriers, whether you be a politician or a millionaire. When words hit your heart, you feel way more compelled to create an impact rather than staring at a presentation slide filled with a bunch of stats. Now, I hear you. It's not every day that you walk into a world conference and see the title poet sewed on the seat. But what if I told you that words can travel from country to country, that they have travel tickets to any place you want them to, whether that be a young person's ears or a legislator's heart? I used to be completely terrified of the idea of not only using my voice in front of a crowd of people of minds that could judge me in the same time it took for me to open my mouth, and the thought of using analogies and other literary devices in the hopes that they could land in the palm of a bear seemed just as ridiculous as blowing a birthday candle on melted wax. So I mention this because, frankly, the biggest barrier to more youth diving into poetry is one word: vulnerability. When you reduce vulnerability, you get fear of judgment. A little more, and there you have it: fear. Fear is a natural human reaction, emotion, feeling, but we can't transform it into an event. Fear cannot become a situation or something that consumes all of the wholeness that could have sprouted in someone's eyes. The thing that kept my fingers typing on a keyboard is knowing that there will be an impact. I notice how some people tiptoe around it and think, well, it might not matter. Your first simile is a guarantee that the dragonfly will come deliver your message into someone's lap, creating more change. Let's not forget that you don't need a PhD to change the world through poetry. You don't need to be an adult or Harvard student. If poetry can be pushed like barrels to youth, our voices can be heard from skyscrapers, and most importantly, felt in people's hearts. Let me draw a picture for you. You're sitting at the end of a coffee table, sipping from a mug filled with black bitter coffee. On the other end is a billionaire. A white man in a blue suit looks at you glaringly and asks, "What will you change?" This is when you decide that writing a poem with the bitter liquid on a napkin will change the frown on the waitress's face, and you'll look at him with star-filled eyes to remind him that no bills of money will amount to the power of a young person's hand. Not to mention, writing poems results in being a young person that gets a warm seat at the decision-making table. Another barrier is the one that I am most familiar with: excuses. Reduce that, you get fear, something we're beginning to become close friends with. And then finally, go to the core of it, and you have not enough. Not enough braveness, courage, ambition. If I went on, a scroll of text would fall off me. But excuses are just one thing: lies. We can't keep putting ourselves in this forever ending hamster wheel of believing that to change the world, something greater than words is going to cut it. You could start writing a poem right now. Your classic roses are red, violets are blue poem. Heck, a poem called Footprints that someone left written in the sand before dawn is one of the most popular poems of all time. So if we only need a finger and grains of sand to impact people, what's stopping you? Notice that with each barrier, there are layers of sand stacked up to the reasoning, but if you can just walk on top of them, write a poem, no sand will ever dive you into its depths after seeing the ocean that your fingers swayed while writing. Through poetry, you gain control of the strings in your life. There is no puppet master hovering over your limbs with a grin, dictating your every move. The shortest distance to someone's heart is through a poem. If the lines and curves on the sand of an unknown person made its way into your ears, you have felt the sprinkle of what that person left. This year has been one of the hardest times of my life. It used to be so easy to just land back in my pillow into dark thoughts that handcuffed me. And when I tell you that poetry is the most striking and impactful form of expression, I mean, I witnessed it when my hand reached for a pen to write poems instead of bed covers to hide under. What got me through a confined and dark tunnel of feeling depressed was the certainty that if I could wrap all my sorrows into a poem, to be held in hands that are also blinded by darkness, then I know that I created even an ounce of impact. The time is now. Yes, even when my talk hasn't even ended, go on, rip out a piece of paper, write one single metaphor, and slip it into the back pocket of a stranger and see what happens. How the creases of that wrinkled paper will become identical to the one in their smile, how that blue lined sheet will be hung for others to see, how from just you deciding to make that leap and to leave all those excuses as discarded trash, you inspired change in another's heart. If you don't directly create change, there's always the validity that your courage to open doors inspired someone to try. Because after all, poetry is planting seeds in the ears of people, knowing that if you can't make flowers bloom on your own, there will always be a crowd of people with shovel in their hands behind you. When I started writing poems, I began with a few lines that I thought only made sense to me. But then when you finally tear out of the snakeskin of fear, your fingers start having a mind of their own. Every one of us has been bestowed the gift of changing the world the same day we became literate. You, the person watching this from behind a screen, at the end of the day, this talk, this video on YouTube, my analogies that are being hung in thin air don't really matter. It's the glass that you shattered from the snow globe of fearing poetry that will be the sandprints in someone's gaze when you are gone.
Hi, my name is Samson, organizer of TKS Community Talks. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to check out our channel for more insightful and inspiring talks from a community of young people training to change the world.